Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Hare Krishna. Welcome to ISKCON of Silicon Valley and the auspicious occasion of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Disappearance Day. Welcoming His Grace Satyadev Prabhu, Mahaguna. Thank you very much for coming. Tonight we'll begin with the song O He Vaishnava Thakura by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. O He Vaishnava Thakura Dayara Sagara Edase Karuna Kori Kura Dayara Sagara Edase Karuna Kori O He Vaishnava Thakura Dayara Sagara Edase Karuna Kori O He Diya pada chaya shoro he amaya tomara charana dhori Diya pada chaya shoro he amaya tomara charana dhori Chaya bega domi, chaya dosha shodhi, chaya guna deho dase. Bega domi. Chaya bega domi, chaya dosha shodhi, chaya guna deho dase. Chaya satsanga Diho he amare Boshachi shangera she Chaya satsanga Deho he amare boshachi shangera she Ekaki amar nahi pae bolo harinama sankirtane Ekaki ama nahi pai balo harinama sankirtane Tumi kripa kore Shuddha bindu diya Deho Krishna nama dhane Tumi kripa kore Shuddha bindu diya Deho Krishna nama dhane Krishna se toma Krishna jite paro Tomara shakti ache Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakati ache. Amito Kanga Krishna Krishna Boli Daitava Pache Pache. Amito Kanga Krishna Krishna Boli Daitava Pache Pache. Oh hey Vaishnava Thakur Doyara Sagaro Idase Koruna Kori. Oh hey Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur. Jaya Bhaktivinoda, 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 Jaya Bhaktivinoda. Welcome to the Divine Disappearance Day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura here at ISV. This verse expresses the mood of service to the Guru, to the Vaishnava. The translation goes as follows. O Venerable Vaishnava Thakura, O Ocean of Mercy, be merciful to this servant of yours and purify me with the shade of your lotus feet. Your lotus feet I humbly hold. By helping me control the 6 urges and purifying me the 6 faults, bestow upon your servant the 6 good qualities. O Master, please give me the 6 kinds of holy association. I have sat down here hoping to have your company. Alone, I do not find the strength to chant the holy name of Hari. Please be merciful and blessing me with a drop of faith. Bestow upon me the great treasure of the holy name of Krishna. Krishna is yours, and you can give him to me, for such is your power. This wretch is simply running behind you, crying out, Krishna, Krishna. So, on this special day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's disappearance, we're also running behind Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur by running behind our Guru Varga, following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, who perfectly exemplified the mood of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And that mood is expressed in his writings. He wrote over 100 books, which is superhuman. Who can write 100 books and at the same time maintain a career at a very high level? His career was as a legal expert, a high court judge. And he was famous for his expertise in that judicial work. Not only that, he had 10 kids, and he wrote 100 books, what to speak of thousands of poems. So it's inconceivable, the power of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And every one of his poems is so perfectly placed. It gives an instruction to show us how to either move forward in the basic aspects of devotional service all the way to the most advanced. So as an example, in his Sharanagati, he writes about the limb of surrender in Sharanagati. As Sharanagati is the 6 limbs of taking shelter of the Supreme. So one of those is in cultivating humility. And here is his writing. When we first started reading this Sharanagati at our home, about 20 years ago with a group of devotees. Everybody said, I want a copy of this. For some reason, hearing the words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, especially in his great humility, expressing what humility actually sounds like, the devotees were compelled, and they wanted to hear more of it. There's something very sweet about that. And so I called up the translator of this particular book and said, we need a couple of cases. The devotees are interested in reading. And he said, sorry, out of print. If you want the book, you'll have to reprint it. So the devotees were so enthusiastic, they took up a collection and gave the money, several $1,000s, for him to reprint the book. And then we got several cases of them, and we all had a big celebration reading this book again and again. So in the beginning, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in the first anga of surrender to the Lord, talks about dainya, or humility. And in a famous song that Prabhupada would sing, called Amarajivana, he writes as follows: my life is ever given to sin. In it there is not a particle of good. I have caused others great anxiety and have troubled all souls. For the sake of my own enjoyment, I have never hesitated to perform sinful acts. Devoid of all compassion, I am concerned only with my selfish interests. Perpetually speaking lies, I become dejected upon seeing others happy, whereas the misery of others is a source of great delight for me. There are limitless material desires within the core of my heart. I am wrathful, fond of exhibiting arrogance, intoxicated by vanity, and bewildered by worldly affairs. I wear the cherished ornaments of envy and egotism. Ruined by laziness and sleep, I resist all pious deeds, yet I am very enthusiastic to perform wicked acts. For the sake of worldly fame and reputation, I engage in the practice of deceitfulness. I am victimized by my own greed, being always lustful. A vile, wicked man such as this, rejected by godly people, is a constant offender. Devoid of all good works, forever inclined toward evil, he is worn out and wasted by various miseries. Now in old age, deprived of all means of relief, this humble and poor Bhaktivinoda submits his tale of grief at the feet of the Supreme Lord. There's a kind of relishment that the great souls have in expressing their deep humility, a sense of them being fallen, even though we understand that they are eternally liberated souls. They come and they exhibit this dainya, but they also drink the nectar of that dainya for themselves, because in considering oneself very lowly and fallen and utterly dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the soul actually swims in a pond of happiness. And so this is the teaching of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. How eloquently and in so much detail does he express the feeling of being utterly humbled at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, feeling oneself completely dependent. And throughout this book, he goes through the various limbs of surrender. Each one of the chapters of Sharanagati is dedicated to one of the aspects of the path. So of course, there's humility, and there's also accepting things that are favorable and rejecting things that are unfavorable. So, as an example, in the Sharanagati of accepting things that are favorable, Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings a Shuddha Bhakta Charanarenu, which we'll sing next. And this song is all about the various devotional practices which are so full of joy. And he practically lists them in this song as he goes through. So in the translation, he writes about, first, the dust of the lotus feet of pure devotees gives rise to devotional service, and service to the devotees is itself the supreme perfection of the root of the creeper of divine love. So the Shuddha Bhakta Charana Renu, so the Renu is the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas. And we heard about that with the Vaishnava Thakura. Then he says, with great care I observe holy days like Ekadashi and Janmashtami, for they are the mother of devotion, and with the greatest reverence and love I choose as my dwelling place the transcendental abode of Sri Krishna. So this Ekadashi and Janmashtami, these special days, Ekadashi is known as Hari Vasara. It's the day of Lord Hari. You perform devotional acts on Ekadashi, and devotees who respect Ekadashi look forward to the Ekadashi day so they can be even more focused on their devotional practices. And then they're always considering in their minds and hearts their residence within the holy Dham of Vrindavan. He talks about visiting all the holy places where Lord Gaurasundar traveled, and he wants to hear the kirtan and the madanga. His heart dances when he hears it. And number 5, he says that just by seeing the deities, he feels blissful. And by honoring the Lord's prasadam, he conquers over all the elements. Every day, Goloka Vrindavan appears in my home when I see Lord Hari being worshipped there. Just yesterday, we went to Bali Mardan Prabhu's house, and there he has this beautiful altar. And then also, Gopal Krishna Maharaj had all his deities. I don't know how he travels with so many deities, but he had a huge altar set up with all his deities. And the home is transformed into Goloka Vrindavan. You go into devotees' homes and it's not ordinary. So all these things Bhaktivinoda Thakur is exalting in these wonderful devotional activities. And this is one of the limbs of surrender, accepting all these things that are favorable to devotional service. We'll sing it together. Shuddha Bhakta Charana Renu Bhajana Anukula Bhakta Seva Paramasiri Premalati Karamula Madhavatiti Bhakti Janani Jatane Palana Kori Krishna Basati Basati Boli Parama Adhare Boli Gaurama Jeshabastane Kolalo Brahmana Range Sheshabastana Erebo Ami Prayani Bhakata Sange Mridanga Bhadya Shunati Mana Abasara Sada Jache Gorvihita Kirtana Shuni Anandari Doyanache Jugala Murti Deki Amora Parama Ananda Hoya Prasada Seva Korite Hoya Sakala Prapancha Jaya Jedina Grihe Bhajana Deki Grihete Goloka Bhaya Charana Siddhu Deki Aganga Sukana Sima Paya Deki Juraya Prana Madhavatoshani Jani Gaura Priya Shakshevane Jivana Sartakamani Bhakti Vinod Krishna Bhajane Anakula Payajaha Pratidibase Paramasuki Svikara Koro Yetaha. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur wove into all his bhajans the practical tenets of bhakti. And he also wrote songs for which he said one should patrol around town. For instance, in the song Radha Krishna Bol, there are very simple instructions. It's written in Bengali, be singing in the towns of different Bengali towns, and people would hear the message, Miche Mayar Boshe Jacho Beshe Kasho Habudububai. It's just telling people that you're being sucked in by Maya and you're drowning here. And if you don't take to devotional service, then your life becomes useless. He says, become a servant of Krishna. Jiv Krishna Dasa Bishwas. And then if you do that, no more distress for you. And he sings, Krishna bolbe jabe pulaka habe, jorbe anki bolitai. So in this, which is consistent with all his other teachings, because he's bringing together all the teachings of Lord Chaitanya in song and presenting it to the world so that people can hear it and sing it and remember this. He says that if you go on chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then you'll come to the perfect stage of life. So he writes in details and in so many different songs about the power of chanting the holy names of the Lord. And here are two very esoteric songs written by Bhaktivinoda Thakura at the very end of his Sharanagati. Oftentimes, the last one that I'm going to read from is quoted by members of the Gaudiya Sampradaya to show that just by the Maha Mantra, just by chanting Hare Krishna, one can rise to the highest levels of bhakti. Everything that's necessary to advance in devotional service is there within the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So this song appears as the penultimate song in the Sharanagati. And he writes, please tell me, when, oh when will that day be mine? My offenses will come to an end, and a taste for the pure holy name will be infused within my heart by the power of divine grace. Did you hear that? Yes. Did you all hear it? You want to hear it again? Yes. This is very relevant to us because we're engaged in the process following the footsteps of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. It's a very practical thing that we have a tradition. We also have these great acharyas or teachings who show by example how to organize one's life. Keep in mind, Bhaktivinoda Thakura is a grihastha. Even though he's a paramahamsa, he shows us how one might conduct one's life. And he gives these instructions again and again that give us faith in the practice of chanting the holy name of the Lord. So listen again. He says, please tell me when, oh when will that day be not mine? This is the way that the devotees are constantly praying, when will I be allowed to chant the holy name without offenses? And if one is thinking and praying for this, as Satyadev Prabhu read me a letter years ago about how Prabhupada said, if you desire to become pure, it's the same as purity. There's no difference. So when, oh when? My offenses will come to an end, and a taste for the pure holy name will be infused within my heart by the power of divine grace. By what? Feeling myself lower than a blade of grass, welcoming the quality of forbearance into my heart, giving honor to all living beings, and being freed from false pride. When will I taste the essence of the liquid nectar of the holy name? Wealth, followers, beautiful women as described in worldly poetry, I do not want any such bodily pleasures. O Lord Gaura Hari, please give me unmotivated devotion to your lotus feet birth after birth. When, while articulating the divine name of Sri Krishna, will my body be thrilled in ecstatic rapture? My words choking with emotion, loss of color and ecstatic trembling occurring, and streams of tears flowing constantly from my eyes. When in the land of Navadvip, on the banks of the celestial Ganga, will I run about innocently calling out, O Gaura, O Nityananda. O Gaura, O Nityananda. Dancing and singing, I will wander about like a madman. Please give me unmotivated devotion to your lotus feet, birth after birth. When in the land of Navadvip on the banks of Satshalganji, dancing and singing, I will wander about like a madman, giving up all consideration of proper social behavior. When will Lord Nityananda be merciful to me and release me from the illusion of worldliness? When will he give me the shade of his own lotus feet and bestow upon me the qualification necessary to enter the marketplace of the holy name? Somehow or other I shall buy or steal the mellows of the name of Lord Hari. Somehow or other I shall buy or steal the mellows of the holy name of Lord Hari. Becoming thoroughly intoxicated by those liquid mellows, I will be stunned. By touching the feet of those great souls who are expert in relishing those mellows, I will be constantly immersed in the sweet nectar of the holy name. When will there be an awakening in me of compassion for all souls? Then this Bhaktivinoda will forget his own happiness, and with a meek heart he will set out to propagate by humble solicitation the sacred order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tava Pravartan. If one chants the holy name with this kind of enthusiasm, then one gets the power to spread Lord Chaitanya's mission. And here's perhaps the most profound of all bhajans. It's found at the last bhajan in this Sharanagati. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur again writes about the holy name. This is the conclusion to the Sharanagati, where he speaks about how he achieves complete spiritual success through the chanting of Hare Krishna. What power does the name of Krishna possess? My heart constantly burns in the fire of worldly desires, just like a desert scorched by the rays of the sun. The holy name entering the core of my heart through the holes of my ears showers unparalleled nectar upon my soul. What did you hear in that first stanza? There's a bushel basket of microphones. Please use them. I'll read it again while you're searching them out. What power does the name of Krishna possess? One or a bushel basket? You got more than one? Should be at least 20 in there. What power does the name of Krishna possess? My heart constantly burns in the fire of worldly desires, just like a desert scorched by the rays of the sun. The holy name entering the core of my heart through the holes of my ears showers unparalleled nectar upon my soul. The holy name speaks from within my heart, moves onto the tip of my tongue, and constantly dances on it in the form of transcendental sound. We've converted to a gymnasium? Maybe mom's around somewhere? The holy name speaks from within my heart, moves onto the tip of my tongue, and constantly dances on it in the form of transcendental sound. My throat becomes choked up, my body shivers again and again, and my feet cannot remain still. Rivers of tears flow from my eyes, perspiration completely soaks my body. All my skin thrills with rapture, my hairs stand on end, and my complexion turns pale and discolored. My mind grows faint. I begin to experience devastation, and my entire body is shattered in a flood of ecstatic emotions. While causing such an ecstatic disturbance, the holy name showers liquid nectar on my heart and drowns me in the ocean of divine love of Godhead. He does not allow me to understand anything, for he has made me truly mad by having stolen away my mind and all my resources. Such is the behavior of him in whom I have taken shelter. I am not capable of describing all this. The holy name of Krishna is independent and thus acts on his own sweet will. In whatever way he becomes happy, that is also my way of happiness. The holy name is the bud of the flower of divine love and is the very abode of astonishing mellows. Such is the power he manifests that when his holy name starts to blossom a little further, it then reveals his own divine form and qualities. Thus my heart is abducted and taken directly to Krishna. Blossoming fully, the flower of the holy name takes me to Vraja and reveals to me his own love dalliance. This name gives to me my own eternal spiritual body, keeps me right by Krishna's side, and completely destroys everything related to this mortal frame of mine. The name of Krishna is a transcendental touchstone, a mine of all transcendental mellows, all devotional mellows. It is eternally liberated and the embodiment of pure rasa. When all impediments to the pure chanting of the holy name of Krishna are taken away and destroyed, then my happiness will know its true awakening. This really gives us a clear idea of what the signs are of the success in chanting the holy name of the Lord. And this is the amazing description of how the holy name takes Bhaktivinoda Thakur by the hand and leads him back to his relationship with Krishna in the spiritual world, stays by his side. So it reminds me always of the poem by Rupa Goswami in which he says that Krishna and his name are the same. Vacham vachakam ityudeti bhavato. But then he makes a distinction and he says the holy name is more merciful than Krishna himself, because the holy name reveals Krishna. Even when we've forgotten or when we've been estranged from Krishna, the holy name comes and gets us and takes us back. Just like when we go out for chanting the holy names, people who are in complete ignorance, Rupa Goswami goes on to say, when they hear the holy name, it awakens their sense of bhakti. Even if they're completely blind to the truth, they get a sense that there's something here. And they have an idea. You can see it in their faces. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the champion of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message. He revived it when it had been lost. It's so easy to lose things in this world. We were discussing the other day about how bad habits are those that we just fall into. It doesn't take any practice. It just happens. Whereas good habits take practice. And one who wants to have a success in life has to know how to practice. Tat tat karma pravartanat. What are the activities that are recommended by the great souls? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur outlined everything and gave us a clear path so that anyone can follow Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and become established as an eternal associate of the Lord in the spiritual world by following this method that's passed down through by the great devotees. This is a point also made in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tvayam bhujaksha kila satvadamni samadhi nanaveshit chetasaike tvatpada potena mahakritena kurvanti govatsa padam bhavabdim. And that is that the great souls like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they're showing us the path of devotional service. And if we try to follow in their footsteps by taking up the methods they've taught, then the ocean of the material world shrinks down to the size of the water contained within a hoofprint of a calf. How large is that, Madhava? Calf, that's big calf. Calves are like this, right? So maybe just a couple drops of rainwater in there. That's how big the material ocean becomes if one follows the instructions of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So this is the Tirobhava, the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And on Tirobhava, it's an interesting description given by our acharyas that when the light of our lives, the great teachers, the acharyas who come here and show the way to follow Krishna, and they enliven us. There's a way in which when we see them, when we hear from them, even years later from their literatures and so forth, we find within our heart that resonance with Krishna's instructions and a desire to perform devotional service. They awaken that in us. And when these great souls are walking amongst the people and showing the way by their ordinary, so-called ordinary lives, which are actually extraordinary because although they perform apparently ordinary activities, they go on with their bhakti in exemplary ways to show us by example. And when they leave, then it's a test for those who have followed how much they have learned. And taking advantage of the Vani. He reasons ill who says that Vaishnavas die, for Vaishnavas die to live, and living try to spread the holy name around. This is a line from one of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's poems, where he says that Vaishnavas never die. They die to live, because when a Vaishnava dies, they go into the Nitya Lila, or they go on to help Lord Chaitanya continue to spread the Sankirtan movement, which is also Nitya Lila. And while they're alive, their main business is to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur passed away from the world in 19... sorry. I'm going to be off by a century. June what? Can't hear you. 1914, yeah. 1914. So it's mentioned in this book about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. In 1910, Bhaktivinoda Thakur went into a pastime of being stunned. He stopped moving. And no one could get him to start moving again. He was like paralyzed. They took him to Calcutta. And many of his detractors then began criticizing him and saying, see, he's an ordinary person. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his son and follower, beseeched him, please stay a little longer so that we can show mercy even to those people who are your detractors. So then Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which was several months later of being paralyzed, came out of his paralyzed state and began moving around the world again for another several years. He stayed in this world until 1914. So he left in 1914, and in 1915, Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj left the world. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was fully dependent on these two great spiritual giants. I want to read to you a little bit of the occurrences, since this is Tirobhav, Disappearance, with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, after the disappearance of Bhaktivinoda. Yeah, here it is. Some 2 or 3 months before his departure during apparent sickness, this is pertaining to Srila Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, but keep in mind that he left just a year after Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So I want us to feel in the mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that his spiritual father and his guru both had departed. And what state was he in? Some 2 or 3 months before his departure, during apparent sickness, Srila Gorkishore Das Babaji had called Sri Siddhanta Saraswati from Mayapur and instructed it that his samadhi should be established either in Mayapur or Godruma, but if neither of these alternatives were possible, then his body should be dragged by municipal sweepers through the streets of Kulia and finally thrown into the Ganga. But due to the pressure from others, Sri Siddhanta Saraswati was now unable to take the transcendental form of his Guru Maharaj to Mayapur, nor could he accede to those persons reiterating Babaji Maharaj's words that his form be towed in the streets. In response to their demand, Sri Siddhanta Saraswati stated, "My Sri Gurudev, whom Krishna Chandra himself feels privileged to carry on his head and shoulders, spoke such humble words to destroy the arrogance of non-devotees. Even though we are fools, inexperienced and offenders, we shall not be averse to comprehending his actual intent. How greatly was Sri Gaurasundar embellished by dancing while holding on his lap the spiritually blissful form of Thakur Haridas after his passing. Following in Sriman Mahaprabhu's footsteps, we shall carry the transcendental form of Babaji Maharaj on our heads. The next day, with his own hands, Sri Siddhanta Saraswati dug out and shaped the samadhi on an alluvial bank of the Ganga in Kulia, in the vicinity where Babaji Maharaj had performed much bhajan. The site was owned by the brothers Ananta and Vanamali Podar, prosperous businessmen who had been assisting Srila Saraswati Thakur for some years and were accepted within his circle. Claiming to have donated that property and given up all rights to it, they personally labored and spent money both for establishing a plinth thereat and later for daily services conducted there under Srila Siddhanta Saraswati's direction, and for a large annual festival celebrating Babaji Maharaj's Tirobhav. Yet after a few years, Ananta and Vanamali's outlook changed, and they attempted to claim that site in the Transcendental Dham as family property. Ignoring the repeated protest of Sri Siddhanta Saraswati and his followers and sympathizers, the brothers eventually forbade them access to the samadhi. As a result of these heinous offenses, Ananta and Vanamali soon lost their considerable health and underwent acute domestic problems, later losing both the samadhi and the land on which it was situated and being sent to jail for 6 months. Upon Babaji Maharaj's disappearance, Srila Siddhanta Saraswati inwardly bemoaned, "Now who will chastise me to make me understand the truth as it is?" Having seen many disturbances arise in the Vaishnava community following the Tirobhav of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura just 16 months before, feeling disappointment and hopelessness, and keenly suffering the absence of his two muses, Sri Siddhanta Saraswati resolved to keep to himself and desist from speaking Harikatha to others. So, after the great acharyas leave the world, there's a way in which there's chaos. Chaos ensues because they leave a vacuum. Their spiritual presence is so powerful that it's inevitable when they leave that there's a readjustment period through which the devotees have to endure and somehow go on with the practice of devotional service and carry on the mission. Although he had commented on 8 of the 11 verses of Anuvritti, a further elaboration of Srila Bhaktivinoda's Piyusha Varshini Vritti gloss of Srila Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamrita, which he was composing on Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura's specific order, he ceased working on it. He lamented, "To whom will I show my articles and books? Who will take pleasure in my writings and encourage me to continue? Who will take pleasure in hearing about the preaching work and the increasing splendor of the Dham and our service to it?" I mean, what's the use if I can't show it to my mentors? Practically foregoing food and sleep, he remained engaged in intense bhajan while wrestling with a dilemma. His heart reverberated with Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura's order that he not renounce service to Mahaprabhu, and seeing the mass of people spoiling their valuable life, their valuable human life, simply taking birth and then dying without information or interest in the incomparable boons offered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Siddhanta Saraswati was unceasingly contemplating the need to preach. Yet having experienced the kind of malicious opposition he would have to face for speaking the truth, he was reluctant to return to public life. Then one day a gust of wind blew before him an extract from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, wherein Lord Chaitanya instructed Sanatana Goswami to compose transcendental literature, renovate forgotten holy places, institute service to Lord Krishna, and propagate bhakti ras. That's what you call a sign. Taking this as a divine indication, but feeling depressed and incapable, Sri Siddhanta Saraswati pondered, I have no public support, nor wealth, learning, or the intelligence required to awaken interest in the populace. How can I convey to the inhospitable world the pure teachings of Sri Chaitanya and establish the manobhishta of my gurus? Shortly afterward, one night at the Yogapit, in a dreamlike revelation, he saw approaching him from the east the Panchatattva, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura, Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj, and numerous other great devotees of Lord Chaitanya. So when I read this, I was thinking that's what our altar is, practically. So when you look at the altar, that's what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta saw coming to him in his hour of prayer. How can I do this? And Srila Prabhupada said, if you're given an order and you don't know how to do it, then you should pray, how can I do? How can I do? How can I do? So we find that he had no resources. He felt himself quite incompetent to carry on the teachings of these great acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj. He was all alone. And he was praying like this. And then he got these signs. These can enter within one's heart and give one impetus to move forward. So he writes, so they said to him, as he's having this vision, Saraswati, why are you worrying? Begin the task of establishing Shuddha Bhakti. Distribute Gauravani universally. Expand service to Gauranam, Gauradham, and Gaurkam. To what? That's right. With unbreached enthusiasm, broadcast Bhakti Siddhanta. We are eternally with you, ready to help. The support of unlimited people, immeasurable opulence, and boundless scholarship awaits the blessing to serve your mission. That's quite indicative also. When you think about how Prabhupada, in a similar situation, with no resources, came to America, I always consider how is it that Pradumna, who ended up as his Sanskrit editor, came forward. Seemingly an ordinary American person, just took up the study of Sanskrit on his own. One day came to Prabhupada and showed him his translations of the Sri Brahma Samhita, and Prabhupada said, keep doing that. Other people came who were fledgling artists, and they flourished, and they began to do artwork. Other kind of management type people came forward, like His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. He worked for a big corporation before he just dropped it and joined Prabhupada. And they all came forward, and great wealth. Prabhupada noted that he came to America with no money, but within several years he was a millionaire in all the different currencies of the world, in land and property, and so many people spreading the movement. So this great wealth, they're telling him, awaits anyone who will have courage and spread the Krishna consciousness movement. All will manifest when required. Come forward with full strength to distribute the message of Mahaprabhu's prema dharma throughout the globe. No worldly hindrance or menace will be able to obstruct this undertaking of yours. We are forever with you. Next morning, the few young disciples who had gathered round him saw for the first time in many years his face refulgent in happiness. He related to them the vision he had seen. Before long, he resumed working on Anuvritti, and thenceforth his avidity for preaching was fully rekindled and unretractable. So it's not that when the guru physically leaves, one's relationship is severed. Rather, that relationship for the sincere disciple goes on, and one can receive instruction either through other God siblings or directly from the guru. And also constantly from the teachings, the Vani, the guru has left behind. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's transcendental teachings reverberate throughout our movement and throughout the world. His mood of equanimity towards all different spiritual practitioners around the world, but with a special emphasis on following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very strictly. He eschewed the various sects that had broken away from the true teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and reestablished what the pure teachings were. and brought it back to the world stage in such a dramatic way that he's considered to be the seventh Goswami. He was deemed the seventh Goswami by a famous writer of the time who knew this history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, had studied the six Goswamis and also the life and teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. So we are the recipients of his mercy. I was at a kirtan in Mayapur in 1975. Prabhupada was walking in the fields, his morning walk. He did it every day. And during those times, you could see for miles in Mayapur, because there was only the Chandrodaya Mandir, and everything else was flat. It was rice fields. So when Prabhupada would go walking in the fields with his with his leaders, you could see their silhouette walking as the sun was coming up. And we happened to be there, a group of Sankirtan devotees, and we were having a kirtan to greet him coming back in before he would greet the deities. Prabhupada stopped and appreciated the international mix of devotees there. And somebody commented, I know they commented because you can hear the recording now. It was being recorded at the time, and someone said, Prabhupada, you've brought all these people here, just as Bhaktivinoda Thakur had predicted. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had established the Yoga Pit, the place of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in Mayapur, and reestablished his teachings, as I've mentioned several times. And then he also predicted that people from various cultures would come together to dance and chant Jai Sachinandan in the Holy Dham. So one of Prabhupada's disciples who was on the walk said, Prabhupada, you've fulfilled Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prediction, and you've brought all these Westerners and Easterners, Europeans. And Prabhupada then commented, he said, yes, and now Bhaktivinoda's mercy will deliver them. And again throughout Prabhupada's books, there are compilations of things Srila Prabhupada said about Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and they all have to do with his overseeing all the preachers in the Krishna consciousness movement. He's the powerhouse that's sending down Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's unadulterated message. He conceived of a marketplace that would spread throughout the whole world, so that people would be able to take advantage of this. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada actually fleshed this out and made it happen around the world. I can remember being in Berkeley in 1973 at a street festival, and or at the San Francisco Rath Yatra. Back in those days, there were thousands and thousands of people who would come. You can see the pictures. And they were all just dancing in ecstasy at that Rath Yatra in 1974. The streets were packed with people. Prabhupada got up and danced, and everybody danced with him. So he was carrying that same message of Bhaktivinoda Thakur down to all of us. We're whiling away the time now because we're going to have an offering. It's a rarefied crowd tonight because many devotees have been going since last weekend, and we've had festivities every night here or somewhere in the valley because of the very special appearance of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. I see that Malini, as soon as I said that, popped in through the door. She has her computer halfway open, which means she has some calculations. Are you ready? I have 3 minutes, though. So we're going to sing one bhajan. We'd like to sing a bhajan from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Any requests? What? Jaya Nilo Premadana Karuna Prachu Jaya Nilo Premadana Karuna Prachu Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Charya Thakur. Kahamora Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanatana Kadas Raghunatha Patita Pavan Kahamora Bhatta Juga Kaha Kavira Ekakale Kota Gela Gora Natarash Pashane Kutibo Mata Anale Pashibo Goranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Gile Pabo Shishab Shangira Shange Jekoilo Bila Sheshangana Paya Kande Narotamodas Sheshangana Paya Kande Narotamodas Jaya Bhaktivinoda 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 Jaya Bhaktivinoda Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada We pray to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur to please bless this entire community, as well as the entire community of Vaishnavas around the world. Please empower us and give us strength to follow all the tenets of devotional service. Please also empower us to spread the Krishna consciousness movement to all the people in the Western world. Please also empower us to attract the Western population to come into the Krishna consciousness movement. So just as in Mayapur, those first couple of years, devotees from all over the world were dancing together in kirtan. Please, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, make that happen again here at ISKCON Silicon Valley and then spread all over North America. Thank you for considering our request. Everybody who agrees with the sentiment of this prayer, please say Hare Krishna really loud. And now we have the offering. We'll stand up, move these asanas, and we'll make an arc around Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Prabhupada, and Malini Devi Dasi, our co-Sankirtan leader, will read the results of our Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur marathon. Also, if somebody could put like a candle or a lamp in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Shringasan, it would make it much nicer.
Nachari Marman, Nachari Marman, Nachari Marman, Nachari Marman, hey, Nachari Marman, Nachari Marman, Nachari Marman, Nachari Marman.